This morning I was having breakfast with somebody who was on the podcast, and he was talking about his business, and he was talking about how he's known for the last year and a half that he needed to hire somebody to be his property manager. He's known this for a year and a half, and he hasn't done anything about it. Who here has known for a year and a half that they had to do something but didn't do it? Okay, just making sure. I got the right audience. All right, so let's start with this quote here. I am the wisest man alive, for I know one thing, and that is that I know nothing. A lot of you guys turn and you look at me, Brandon, Jay, all these brilliant speakers up here, all these wonderful people, all the people within the community. And one of the things that stood out to me when I started BiggerPockets was there was this group of people who were teaching real estate education. And they knew everything. They knew exactly how you had to run your business. They know exactly what you needed to do, the path you had to take. But guess what? They didn't know anything. They were selling you on that. You have your own path. You have your own path. You have your own path. We all have our own paths. And we have to figure out how that path is going to work. And there's not any single person that is out there that's going to tell you this is what you have to do. You have to figure that out for yourself. So for starters, please don't listen to anybody who thinks they know everything about everything, because they don't. And if their ego is so big that they think so, you want to move on and learn from somebody else. So, what have you been up to for the last few years? Kind of fell off the earth, right? Josh was there, he was out and about, and all of a sudden, I disappeared. Now, a lot of you guys know I'm on the podcast. I've been running the site for 14 years, and out of the blue, we had this family tragedy. We had these things happen, but haven't been super forthcoming in everything just for privacy purposes. Really wanted to kind of deal with stuff. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but before I do, I'm going to dive into a very brief history of BiggerPockets. BiggerPockets was founded almost 15 years ago. I believe it's 15 years ago in the next week or so. It'll be our 15-year birthday. I was teaching special ed, high school in Los Angeles. I had a brief failed career in the entertainment business. Wasn't that failed. I got to sport this amazing mohawk, which is obviously sexier than the one that you saw yesterday. Obviously. The homeless man in the middle there, that was actually me in a film. That was not what happened to me as a result of teaching special ed for 4 years. And the last photo is actually me in the very first stages of BiggerPockets on that big old iMac, and just kicking things off. So early days, I'm investing in real estate. Things are, really exciting, and I'm starting to make mistakes, and I need help. And I look out, and I can't find anything to help me that I feel like I can trust. And I say, all right, you know what? Let me see what I can do. Let me see if I can build something on the side. Now, mind you, back in the day, I had been building websites for fun. I was like, all right, let's see what I can do, right? So I'm investing, I'm teaching, and nights, weekends, in between classes, I start my side hustle. So who here started their real estate business as a side hustle? All right. All of a sudden, my side hustle hobby starts to take over my life. Here I am, not in my boxer shorts, unfortunately. The rumors are not true. But here I am in my living room. All of a sudden, I've transitioned. I've quit my job teaching high school. I moved to Colorado. I got married. And this is pretty much how I spent my days in between feeding a baby and taking care of them and doing all these other things. I did that for 8 years. So for 8 years, first 2 years were while I was teaching. Next 6 years, I worked 100-hour weeks. Every single week, relentlessly. When my children were born, I had my laptop in the hospital. When my kids were sick, I had my laptop in the hospital. When I traveled, I had my laptop, not in the hospital, wherever I was. Hopefully it wasn't the hospital. So I went 8 years without taking a single day off. I worked 7 days a week, 365 days a year for 8 years. Who here thinks that's a healthy thing to do? Thank you. Good. All right. Not super smart. I burnt out and realized that I needed to change. I needed to do something different. So I decided it was time to hire and went forth and hired this skinny little boy. Handsome, without facial hair. You really got to lose the beard, man. And things changed very quickly. Things changed very, very, very quickly. We launched a podcast. Who here listens to the BiggerPockets podcast? Yeah. We launched a book business. Who here has read a BiggerPockets book? Yeah. All of a sudden, we could start scaling. I didn't have to work 100 hours a week. It was awesome. I was working 95. My hair was falling out less quickly. Things continue to scale, things continue to scale, things continue to grow, and all of a sudden, I have enough money to hire the next person, my next employee. All of a sudden, I have a team. So, before we go further, I'd like everybody here to give a rousing round of applause for the entire BiggerPockets team. Stand up, guys. BP, stand up. Come on. These guys are unbelievable. And they're not all here. The whole team isn't here. We've actually got somebody down with food poisoning, unfortunately. And then there's folks back home and otherwise, but these guys are amazing. So this is a photo of the early team. You got Brandon. Next to Brandon, who knows who John Holdman is? One hand. So John Holdman, the guy with the funny beard, he was our first moderator. He was literally one of the first 100 people on the site and continued to stay with us for years and years and years and years as a moderator. Then you got Scott next to him. You got this guy, Hillary Catton, the most amazing customer support person on earth, Allison Leung, and that was Rob, our head of engineering for a very, very long time. So the team starts growing. We start scaling. We hire some phenomenal employees still with us today. And then we made some mistakes. We didn't hire all amazing people. We learned, we screwed up, and it was okay. It was okay. But we continue to scale this business. And little by little, this thing got a life of its own. Overnight success, right? Year 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We're at 30-something employees. The business is growing. We're catering to you guys, hopefully. And things are going great. But then, I needed to step away. I needed to step away because life forced me to. But here's the thing. I probably should have done that sooner. So, in 2017, I had 3 panic attacks. One sec. I'm not having one now. Don't worry about it. I had 3 panic attacks. I get emotional. I had 3 panic attacks. And I don't know if anyone here has had them. And if you have, you don't have to raise your hand. But who here has had some form of anxiety or panic attack? It's scary. It's scary. And my panic attacks, I knew in my heart and I knew in my soul that my body was telling me something. But I didn't listen. And I kept going. And I'm not 20 anymore. A panic attack at 20 is one thing. A panic attack in your 40s, suddenly you're having a heart attack. I got 3 kids. Life is not worth it. Let me continue forward. BiggerPockets was in this stage where I had to step aside, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But then we move on to this next stage. So as I step aside, somebody had to step in my interim, and this drunken man here Scott Trench, everybody, CEO of BiggerPockets. By the way, that is Scott sitting in the first row of first class next to me. I think that was the only time I've ever flown first class. Scott's rocking his gym shorts. He's got his sandals on, I think. And I don't know how you can quite fall asleep like that. Don't ever let him forget that. So, this, if you've never seen this before, these are the core values that we've established for BiggerPockets. Family over everything, serve others with purpose, build authentic relationships, be insatiably curious, keep things fun, and get it done. Challenge what's possible and value unique perspectives. By the way, if you have not written core values for your business, I thought it was a bunch of bullshit until we went and did it. And this proved to be one of the most important exercises we've ever done. Back to Allison, who really helped take the lead on this, Allison Leung, and worked with me very closely, and the rest of the team. This was extremely important for us and has helped to guide the business forward, and will continue to help guide the business forward. So the ironic thing is, the top thing there says family over everything. Here's the problem. I was putting BiggerPockets over everything instead of family over everything. I was trying, but you do that long enough, and it takes its toll. Something wasn't right, and I just ignored it. So that's me, that's my business. In your business, I guarantee every single one of you has something happening in your business that you know you need to do. And it's usually the big scary thing. And you sit and you wait and you procrastinate. And say, I'm going to get there one day. I'm going to do it. Let me knock these little easy things out, because they're easy. And then you wait. And guess what happens? You never do the big scary thing. And it's the big scary thing that helps you to move forward. It's the big scary thing that brings you progress in your business and in your life. Now, in my case, I was just working relentlessly. What movie is this from? All right, good. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Well, I was becoming a dull boy, and I wasn't aware of it. I didn't even realize it. November 2017, November 27th, 2017. I've got 3 little girls who are amazing, amazing wife. My eldest, Zoe, up until this point, had, I believe it's 6 surgeries. She got salmonella when she was 3, spent 8 days in isolation in the hospital. We thought she was going to die. She tonsillectomy, adenoidectomy, and she had 2 eye muscle surgeries to straighten her eyes out. She had something called strabismus, so kind of like a lazy eye. So they do these eye muscle surgeries. They detach one of the muscles. There's an outer, inner. They detach one. They move it like millimeters, and then reattach it. Suddenly your eyes are straight and your brain's like, cool, we're going to keep your eyes corrected. 80% success rate. Well, we were in the 20% the first time, and then 20% the next time. November 27th, 2017, we took her in for her 3rd eye muscle surgery. It was a routine surgery, in and out. We had done it twice before. We knew what we were in for. And so, I took the day off of work to take care of her. And we did the surgery, and we took her home, and we knew the next day she'd wake up, her eyes would both be open, and she'd be fine. Except the next day she woke up, and her eye did not open. So I didn't go into work. And the next day, and the next day. By Wednesday, so Monday was the surgery. By Wednesday, we knew something just really wasn't right. We had called the doctor on Tuesday. He said, wait. Wednesday, he said, let me see her. We brought her in. He said, I think she might have an infection. Her face had started to swell up. Thursday, it didn't get any better. She's on antibiotics. Friday, it's getting worse. We go in again. Now things have picked up. We are going to need to admit her to the hospital. So they admit her to the hospital. They put her on IV antibiotics. And these IV antibiotics are obviously going to hopefully help take this infection away. The problem is your eye is really close to your brain. And an infection can spread very quickly from your eye to your brain. So they watched her. And what they told us was, Josh, and Julie, we think there's a chance we may have to do a surgery. Well, this is scary. This is really scary. They decide that we're going to just wait and watch her. Saturday comes. We may take her in this afternoon. We may not. We're not sure. Imagine the waiting, right? Imagine thinking, hey, any second this thing could go into my kid's brain. What are you going to do? Sunday comes. By the way, Julie is homesick. She cannot be in the hospital. I'm alone. She's got my 2 kids. I'm with Zoe. And all of a sudden, the doctors come in Sunday morning. A second doctor we hadn't met comes in, and she says, it's time. So come with us. So we go downstairs. They roll her down into the surgical area. There's not a single person there. It's a Sunday. They don't do surgeries on Sunday. They wheel her downstairs. They bring us into this room, and they say, they start prepping her, and they say, we're going to take her off. Now, when they take kids for surgery, normally it's a calm, relaxing thing, as scary as it is, and the parent gets to go into the room with them. Well, once we went downstairs and they prepped us, they rushed her off. She was crying. She was freaked. I was crying. I was freaked. No info on how long it was going to take. No info on what was going to happen. Off she went. As I pace here nervously, I did the same that day for the next 2+ hours in a hospital waiting area with no doctors, no nurses, no patients, no parents, nobody, just by myself. They finally came out. By the way, unimaginable fears, scenarios spinning through your head. They come out. We We did the surgery. She's going to be okay. We had to cut into her eyeball. We had to drain the fluid out of her eyeball. And we found all this necrotic, dead tissue in her eyeball. Scary. Is she going to see again? Is she going to be okay? Yes, she is. Okay. So she's going to be okay. Everything's going to be great. They admit us, but we're back in the hospital. We're there for the next few days, and she's doing okay. But there's kind of some weird stuff happening, and I couldn't quite explain it. And the doctors kind of poo-pooed everything I was saying and everything my wife was saying. Now, I don't know if there's any physicians in here, and no offense to anything I'm going to say, but a lot of doctors are full of shit. The challenge is unlike my first quote, they know everything. And the challenge is there's oftentimes difficulty in admitting that you don't know everything. And so when we had these weird things happen, everybody kind of poo-pooed us, the whole team poo-pooed us, and they actually sent us home. So we went home a few days later and nervously agreed to do so. And we were happy, we were excited. Her eyes still closed, but we're home. And then the next day, still kind of acting funny. And then the next day. Zoe, what are you doing? Nothing? Zoe, what are you doing? Nothing? Why are you walking funny? I'm not. It was too late in the day. We called the doc. He said, just watch it, wait till tomorrow. If nothing changes, bring her in. We tentatively agreed. The next day came. We brought her to the emergency room. It was Saturday. She wasn't walking anymore. They scanned her, checked her brain, checked her eyeball, poo-pooed us all along the way. Everything's going to be okay. We don't see anything wrong. She can't walk. What do you mean there's nothing wrong? We think it's something in the brain. Well, she didn't have anything in the brain before she went into the surgery. What did you do? What happened? We think it's this thing. Go see your primary care doctor on Monday. It's Saturday. Excuse me. So they send us home. For the next 48 hours, I've got a kid who can't walk, can't hold her torso up anymore. And I have zero answers. And I have doctors telling me everything's going to be okay. Imagine that feeling, that absolute terror that you go through. We went into the doc. Doc says, This is horrifying. We're sorry. We need to bring in the psychologist. We think there may be something from a psychological standpoint. And then they make this ruling. They say, hey, we think it's this. We got to get you into the hospital. They start calling the hospital. Hospital says we're not going to admit her. They continue to call. We start calling. They're not going to admit us. Tuesday comes. Same thing. Wednesday comes. Same thing. Thank goodness I have political aspirations, and I've befriended several politicians in my area, and I have some friends who are on the board of the hospital. I call, I say, tell them my story, what's going on, and within an hour, we get admitted to the hospital. So, let me stand on my soapbox for a second here. That's bullshit, and no one deserves that, and that is absolutely one of the biggest reasons our healthcare needs to be reformed. Absolutely insanity. Because I'm lucky, privileged, and connected is no reason that my kid should get treated better than anyone else. And it goes further because they made a diagnosis. They diagnosed her with something called conversion disorder, a condition in which a person has blindness, paralysis, or other nervous system neurologic symptoms that cannot be explained by medical evaluation. The recovery ratio on conversion disorder is not very good. And there's a reason for it. It's costly to treat. And there's not really a great explanation for it yet. So in the case of Zoe, she's in the hospital, and over the next couple days, her legs aren't working, her torso's not working. Her eyes are already closed. She can't hold her head up anymore. And she stops being able to use her arms. They give us this bullshit explanation, which is we ruled everything else out. We got nothing left to call it. This is an actual disorder, by the way, conversion disorder. But they're going to find out in 10 or 20 years that conversion disorder is one of like 30 things. They rule her with conversion. I don't believe it. One day, I'm laying in bed with her in the hospital. She's sleeping. It's the middle of the night. She sits up. Wait. She lays back down. We thought there was something physically wrong with her. Well, my daughter was a sleepwalker. She would wake up in the middle of the night and walk around and talk and blabber. All of a sudden, I bought into it. We now knew that it wasn't something physical, that it was something psychological. We actually bought into conversion disorder. Start making phone calls while we're at the hospital. They give her a little bit of treatment here and there because that's what they do, because they're just not equipped unless they're a specialty facility, which there was one in Rhode Island. It would cost us like $75,000 to put her on an ambulance plane to get her there because she can't hold her body up. She can't get treated at lots of the facilities because she could not bathroom herself because she could not hold her body up. And she could not get the full level of care that she absolutely deserved because of her condition. And so we started making calls, talked to some experts, and decided it was time to get her the hell out of the hospital. We needed to bring her home. We needed to put her in a normal, regular home environment, and we were going to build a team. We were going to overcome the statistics on this, and we were going to win. Family above all else. Well, I finally started following that. So we've got our plan together. We build our team. 7 days a week of occupational therapy. 7 days a week of physical therapy in the home. Therapy weekly. We started seeing a psychiatrist. I turned my living room into a gymnasium. There were mats on the floor. I got one of these electrical, bike things that you click they're for all the old people. You click it and, it automatically does this for you, right? We strap her in and let her go. We didn't want her to atrophy, right? We worked on her body. We worked on her mind every single day. My full-time job was to care for this child, and that is what I did. So this is Zoe in therapy, trying to learn how to use her legs. Unimaginable fear. I thought my daughter could be a paraplegic for life. We worked with her constantly, relentlessly, did not quit. In the same way that I relentlessly built this business, I now had a new focus. And it was this child. And I was not going to lose this battle. Because I don't like to lose battles, and I especially don't like to lose battles when it comes to my family. After weeks and weeks, we started to see some improvement. Before we got her out of the hospital, we actually got her hands moving. We just kept buying Lego sets. She loves Legos. So, Legos constantly. We bribed the hell out of her. Stuffies. She's got to have 300-400 stuffies. Like, move your finger an inch, you got a stuffy. You name it. This is her in school. We tried to normalize her life. 9 years old, you go from a healthy kid and all of a sudden you're in a wheelchair. I don't care how awkward you feel. You are going to school. Maybe not all day, but you're going to go in and we're going to normalize your life. We saw things get better. And little by little, there would be light at the end of the tunnel. Here's her walker, nice and decorated, blinged out. Rocked the walker for a while. And 2 weeks before the end of school, the walker was gone. August 23rd, 2019, those of you guys who know me know I like to go out, I like to play in the woods, getting the goods in the woods, as one of my friends likes to say. And Mount Bierstadt, August 23rd, 2019, 14,065 feet. That little girl did what the big hairy bearded guy in the back struggled to do last year with me. She made it to the top of a 14,000-foot peak in Colorado. That's her on skis. So for the last 2 years, I've spent my time with that kid, with my other kids, with my family. And in so doing, I pondered. I thought about life. I thought about death. And I mostly thought about happiness. And I read, and I read, and I tried to figure out what it is that matters. There's nothing more important than finding your happiness. Life has a way of giving you signals. In my case, I might have been working a little too hard. I was having panic attacks. I was frustrated, stressed out. Who here in their work is stressed out from time to time? That's okay. Who here gets frustrated with how things are going from time to time? Sure. Now, even a perfect business, there's going to be frustration and stress, right? But these are signs. These are symbols. These are things that are telling you maybe you got to tweak things. Maybe you got to change how you do it. Maybe you need to alter. Maybe you have to find processes. Maybe you have to simplify your business. Well, a funny thing happened. Despite stepping away to be with my family, BiggerPockets continue to grow and thrive. I guess 14 years of creating a great foundation allows something to foster and grow. BiggerPockets would be okay without me. It was time for me to start the new act. So, I'm figuring out what's next. I'm working through it. My family, things are starting to get better. We're mid-2017, and some new information comes to light. My brother calls me up, Josh, I just took a 23andMe test. Yeah, all right, well, you know, the girls, so he's got 2 adopted daughters. The girls really wanted to learn more about their background, their past, so we did that, and I took it, and Alex, his wife, took it. That was cool, and, you know, got all this info and all this stuff, and our half-brother this, and all this stuff, and da-da-da. Oh, wait, what? Half what? Yeah. Half-brother? Wait, say that again. You got a half-brother. At least that's what the site says. No, that's not possible. How could we have a half-brother? No, that doesn't work. Now let me rewind for a second here. So, when I was a year old, my dad passed away from testicular cancer. Thank goodness people don't really die from testicular cancer today, but I didn't know that. So if you've ever seen me doing things, you know, I was scared for a really long time that I was going to die of testicular cancer. My hands were there a lot. A lot. Anyway, my dad died when I was a year old. He actually died on my brother's 4th birthday, which is crazy. But he died and my mom remarried, and Dorkin is the name of my stepdad. He's my dad. He raised me. And so we get this information about this half-brother. Well, half-brother, dad's been dead for 40 years. We know it's not mom, because mom is a overbearing Jewish mom. And those of you who have overbearing Jewish or otherwise mothers would know that no overbearing Jewish mom would let their boy go. And so it had to be dad. Well, maybe he had a kid before mom, and maybe while with mom, maybe afterwards. Uh-oh. Let's call mom. So we call mom. Hey, mom. What's up? How you doing? Hi, Josh. Was that good, Brandon? That was good. Hey, mom. So there's this whole DNA test that Dave took, and says we got a half brother. DNA? What's that? Wasn't that bad. So do the DNA. We explain it to her and say, hey, what's the story? She denies. No, nothing. No, it's impossible. Mom, it's not possible. DNA is science. It's impossible. She hangs up. The next day, we call her again. Mom, DNA. What's DNA? It's science. It's not possible. And we relented. And we relented. And out of the blue, she says, well, there's this one thing. What's the one thing, Mom? Well, your father and I couldn't have kids. We struggled. So we went to a fertility, I can't say that word, fertility, fertility clinic. And they took your father's stuff and they mixed it with another guy's stuff. They mixed it? What? Mom, science. Do you know how it works? What do you mean? I had to explain the ones that can swim, they're the ones that are going to win. Mom, so what you're telling me is by the way, step back for 2 seconds. The guy that I had been, my birth dad, so there was like a family separation. We literally, my entire life, knew nothing about him or his family. So there was a hole in my life. By the way, this is a big part of my speech, so I probably shouldn't forget it. Big hole in my life. Big hole in my life. And my whole life, we are searching for this family. And we can't find this family. Well, now, all of a sudden, what the hell? So we've got this new information. We are all of a sudden not trying to figure out about my birth dad's family. We got DNA dad. Yeah. By the way, I'm going to create a new television show called My Three Dads. I think it's brilliant, where I find out about my 600 stepbrothers that I never knew about. It'll be a comedy. Anyway, I've got all this new information. I've got this giant hole in my life. And all of a sudden, the hole kind of went away. But here's the weird thing. I don't know who my bio dad is. So how did that hole go away? Well, I didn't need to search for my birth dad anymore. He was there. Sadly, in the last year of his life, as I was growing, he spent most of that time in the hospital. My father raised me, my stepdad. And the guy who allowed me to live, planted his seed, so to speak. I'm grateful. I didn't need to really figure out who he was, besides the fact that it would be close to impossible. Because I called some people and was like, hey, what are the odds? And they're like, well, you got to take a 23andMe test, and you can probably try and find the clinic, but you may have to pay lawyers a whole hell of a lot of money to open up court records on all this. And I'm like, it sounds like a lot of work. I don't care. And when I said that, I realized that I actually didn't care. This is my life. I am not my father. I am not my father. I am not my father. Hopefully there's not a fourth. I'm not my mother, my brother. I am me. And this is my life. And I'm going to live this life the way I want to live this life. And I have lived this life the way I want to live this life. And I'm proud of the way I've lived this life. I've lived a great life. And that hole is gone. And so I'm sure all of you guys have folks out there who tell you what to do. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Come on, man. You really going to do that with your business? Really? Really? You're going to hire a property manager and not save all that money? Wait a second. You're going to flip houses? Are you crazy? Who here has heard something like that? Guess what? You are going to continue to hear something like that forever. The reason this room is so special, at least in the world of real estate, is that nobody here is going to say that to you. And if they do, go back to my second slide about people knowing more than they think they know. Right? So, this is your life. You know what you need to do. You know what's important. You know what's necessary. I love this quote. We cannot change the cards we're dealt, just how we play the hand. So I learned all this information about my 3 dads. My daughter's getting better. And as I said, I decided it was time to make a change. BiggerPockets was doing well. I needed to figure out what mattered to me again. I needed to figure out what was next. So I set forth, got together with Scott and Brandon, who at this point were pretty much running the day-to-day along with Dave and the rest of the team. Excuse me. And we put together a search. And midsummer, we found a group that we thought was going to be spectacular. We'd met lots of folks. And it was a private equity shop out of Omaha, Nebraska, a company called McCarthy Capital. McCarthy was going to come in and become my new partner. I was going to step down. 14 years of building my baby, and it was time to step away. So, along with McCarthy, we put together a board, of which I am a part. We hired a chairman of the board, Mr. Mike Zawalski. And built an incredible, incredible team. Scott Trench, our new CEO, has done a phenomenal job along with the rest of the team. I was so scared. I was so scared of letting my baby go. But I realized it was time. It was ready. And I realized that I found the right people to help continue the path of my company. So here's to the future of BiggerPockets and the amazing team that we already applauded, who's currently running it. As for me, I'm pursuing my happy. I'm spending time with my kids. I'm finding hobbies. For the first time in years, I'm getting fit. I'm getting the goods in the woods. I'm taking care of my mental health. I'm taking care of my family. And I'm focusing on me. I haven't done that in a really, really, really long time. So here's a few takeaways. 1, do not wait until life decides for you. You know what you need to do. You know what is important. Make it happen. 2, map and plan. Write down. Write down. Is it your family? What part of your family life needs help? Make a list. I have a book. That book, Monk Ferrari, actually really helped me with this. I've got a page that says family. And it's, hey, make sure I do this, write love letters to my wife, do this with my kids, all the things I aspire to do on my family. Health, run a 5K, did that. Run a 10K, did that. Run a marathon, haven't done that yet. Climb a 14er, I've done many of those. I actually did 4 a few weeks ago in one day. Take action. You can't just write things down, you got to do it. You got to do it. Do not wait for permission. This is your life. This is nobody else's life. It's nobody's business telling you what to do. You know what to do in your heart. I see you guys. I see the brains spinning. All of you guys. Think about all that stuff. You know in your heart what it is that you need to do. Do not wait for permission. Take action and do it. Life is short. You can die tomorrow. Gary Vaynerchuk is very famous in saying this. And whenever people text him for advice, that's his response. He's right. I like to live my life as if I'm going to die tomorrow. Well, what are you waiting for? Because you can die tomorrow, or your kid can get conversion disorder, or you can get hit by a bus. And I know it's sad, and I know it's scary, and I know 90% of you are afraid to stop and think about it. But I implore you guys to think about it. You can die tomorrow, and if you're going to die tomorrow, what the hell are you going to do today? You better start changing your life. Go out and find your path. Everybody's got their own. Figure it out. You know it. Put it down, write it, follow it, do it. Good luck to you. You guys, great, great, great quote from a very, very smart man. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Thank you very much.